Hey Karu, I thought I'd make a quick video to show you the absurd proliferation of camera gear that I'm using on this trip. And note, I'm taking this video on my US cell phone. And one of the pieces of camera gear that I'm going to talk about is that on the far left, which is my UK cell phone, which I use pretty regularly. So I'm just going to go through all this stuff. Actually, interestingly, I started out, a few years ago just using a cell phone for pictures and video. And then it reached a point, I actually had a little camcorder that we bought at some point, and that was working okay. But then I realized that I could get better pictures if I upgraded. So what I upgraded to was this right here, which is what is it? A Sony. Oh, what's it called? RX100 Mark V, and it's a high-end point-and-shoot camera. And I started taking videos with that, and it was a significant improvement. And then I realized that the next level up was going to be, well, actually, even before that, I realized that this right here, which is our Garmin dash cam, would be really useful for all the driving we do in Wales. And so I got that, I don't know, 5 years ago now, maybe longer. And that has been great. Use video from that all the time, have it take pictures all the time. Um, so, you know, I ended up with the cell phone, which I always have with me, the dash cam, and then the RX100, which is great because it's tiny. I can just fit it in my pocket. And then eventually realized that there were pictures I couldn't get that I wanted to, and I was starting to want to do that. So I upgraded the first like real camera, changeable lens camera I got was this uh, Sony A5100, and it's a it's a crop sensor, so it's a small sensor, and you can see it's barely any bigger. The camera body, anyways, barely any bigger than the RX100. And so I had it with just a kit lens, which was pretty small as well, and that worked for a while. And then I realized that I really wanted more, and I upgraded that lens to this. Actually, now has a wide angle lens on it, but I was using it initially with a. I've got the lens over here. This is a what is this? Say on it, 18 to 200 millimeter zoom lens. So that's a pretty wide range for zoom. And what I do is I actually put that lens on this body. And if I'm just walking around town most of the time, I'll carry that. I still, if I'm not going to plan on taking any pictures at all, I'll still bring the RX 100. I'll just stick it in my pocket. And then if something comes up that I really want to get a picture of, I have a decent camera as well as the cell phone. But most of the time when we're out, like seriously looking to take pictures, I put this wide angle lens. What is this? 11 millimeter lens on the A5100, and I use that for wide angle shots. Now, a year and a half ago, when we were coming back to Wales for the first time, I'd been using this camera for about a year and a half, that A5100. And the only downside of that is that the body's not weatherproof. And so I'd gotten comfortable enough with it that I knew I wanted something a little nicer. And so I got this camera on the end here, the A7C, which is a compact full frame camera. And the lens that I have on that is a 24 millimeter to 240 millimeter. And it gives me a whole wide range of zooms. And initially I had a wide angle lens for that as well. But what I realized was that for me, having to swap lenses on a camera when in the field when it could be raining, it could be windy, that I just wasn't going to do it. So I wasn't getting certain shots because I didn't want to swap the lens. And so just having the A5100 with the wide angle lens and the A7C with the zoom lens allowed me to get all of the different shots I wanted to get. And then, what, I guess a year ago, I picked up the Insta360 camera, this one here, which is a modular action camera. And right now it's got the wide angle kind of action cam lens on it, but it also has a 360-degree lens that you are familiar with. I've used that quite a bit. And then just this fall, obviously, I picked up the drone. And unfortunately, the weather has not been great, and I haven't had a chance to use the drone as much as I would have liked on this trip, but hopefully it'll be more often. Actually, we went out today fully intending to use it, going to like remote churches where there's not a lot of people around, and it was just so windy, there was no way I could use it. So yeah, those are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cameras that I have used on this trip. I have used pictures or videos off of every single one of these cameras already. We've been here 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks. In addition, actually behind the RX100 right there, you see these are microphones, and Sari and I finally broke down and paid, I don't know how much we paid for these microphones, but they are remote, so these are transmitters, and you can transmit to this and mount it on the camera. But I never do that. We always just record locally on these, and then I merge the audio clips with the video when I'm doing video editing. So yeah, it seems like the gear has proliferated. The nice thing is that I still am able to get all the gear in that little backpack over there. This is, by the way, this is the back here. That's the controller for the drone. But I don't carry around this lens at all. I leave this lens at home usually. I do carry around backup batteries for everything. And yeah, it's worked out really well. And it seems like a ton of gear, but it's amazing how little space it takes up, and how easy it is to use. So that is the Camera Insanity. This is the place we're staying in, by the way, which is for the next few weeks. You can see there's a sunroom out there, and Sarah's actually working on her Welsh because she's giving a Welsh language interview tomorrow, and she's freaking out a little bit about it, but that's okay. And out past her, it's tough to see, but that's the Menai Strait. So yeah, it's pretty cool setup. So that's my story when it comes to Camera Insanity, and I'm sticking to it. By the way, I enjoyed your video of curling yesterday. That was I'm a little disappointed you weren't wearing a kilt though. We'll talk about that later. Bye bye.